Hello and welcome to the Durham Talents channel. My name is Jesse Durham. For today's episode, I get to sit down with Will Meadows from The Office and have a conversation about his IBC journey. He's normally on the other side of the camera, so I really appreciate him carving out time with his schedule to jump on this side and share his story. I hope that you enjoy.
Feel free to look me in the eyes. It's okay.
Well, I probably will.
Perfect.
But I'll have to stay in the microphone.
Let's do it.
So seriously, thanks for sitting down with me.
Absolutely.
I know it means a lot for you to carve out some time to do this, but that's furthermore why I thought that our conversation could be pretty cool because you're behind the scenes of a lot of what I just see. And for us to be able to sit down and have a conversation about your IBC journey is really cool. Now, it could have been about anything. I mean, you and I could have, and we have had some cool conversations, whether it's about scripture or whether it's with your boys, like earlier today, about tactics and protocols of,
That's right.
you know, personal awareness and safety and stuff. But if you would, just do like normal. Tell the folks that would be listening a bit about who you are, whatever you feel comfortable sharing about who you are, what you're doing, so they'll know who they'll be hearing this IBC journey from.
Sure. Well, I think most people probably are interested in the banking bros side of things as the starting point, at least. I had the opportunity to meet Jeremiah way back in the day. We were friends, went to school together, did a bunch of work. He's got that entrepreneurial spirit. And so and I'm a graphic designer. That's what I went to school for. That's what my background is in. And so we've been able to work together on a number of different projects over the years.
One of which, I'll interject here, that's how I first met you, was you were behind a camera somewhere doing some work.
Yeah. And he introduced me. He got introduced to the infinite banking concept, and he introduced it to me. And I was a little dubious. I'm definitely the right-brained, creative, not a numbers guy type of thing.
Okay.
And so when he first told me about it, I was like, sounds too good to be true. But if you're going to do it, like, keep me posted. Let me know what it looks like in a year. And when you get that spreadsheet back, if you actually made the interest that you said you're supposed to make, then I'm in. You prove it, and I'll jump in.
You're that guy.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So he did. I mean, we hung out doing all the normal stuff that we always do. And then at the end of the year, he came back and said, hey, if you want to see these numbers, they're actually better than the original thing told me. I got these dividend things in there too, working for me. And they ended up higher, and I was like, all right, I'm in.
All right. So put a timestamp for me then when you first heard about infinite banking.
Oh gosh. See, I just told you I'm not a numbers guy.
Well, you did.
2018, 19.
Okay. And when did you end up getting your first policy?
Basically a year later. So it was about a 1-year time period. Jeremiah had the opportunity to meet Brent Kessler, who is basically our mentor at this point. And he actually, the interesting thing is I helped him kind of get started, which is a little crazy. Brent was just starting his own
because
agency.
of your skill set and everything.
Yeah, I did his logo, his first website. He's changed it since then, but his presentation graphics, a lot of the stuff I helped him do just as a freelance graphic designer. I wasn't trying to be a banker. I was just doing my normal thing.
Right.
And keeping tabs on that, watching his company grow, and then hearing all the stories from Jeremiah about he's presenting it in these places, and he says this thing, and I think it's true, but I don't know. Jonah's checking it out. Jonah was always like the source of true wisdom.
Verification was happening.
He was the one calling the insurance company and actually confirming that these things worked, and downloading the spreadsheets and comparing them to the examples that they were working with. And
so we're calling him the left brain guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in between the three of us, like with our powers combined, we had Jonah actually fully understanding the full infinite banking process and what all the ins and outs are of it. And then we had Jeremiah translating it and like breaking it down into like human English so that I could understand it. And then I was like, well, let me just pull this camera out real quick, say that one more time, and then we're going to post this and see if we can explain it. And so that's where we kind of got started. We were just trying to educate people on what we were learning and understanding and trying to communicate a little more clearly.
Cool. So because of your friends, Jadu and them, and because of your skill set, the work brought you to being exposed to the idea. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing things, you're hearing things. About a year goes by before you get a policy, but let's stay right at the beginning. You're a family man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You got kids.
I do.
Married.
3 boys, wife, yeah.
Yep. And you've actually got all kinds of things on the business side and freelance things, like you mentioned, that you do, some real neat stuff.
I do.
Tell folks anything there that I don't even care if it's a shout out.
The fun
right?
stuff. Yeah. Right.
Right. But it's more about who you are, and there's so many different kinds of people that I work with, employees, business owners, so many different interests, right? Banking's what's going to unite us all here in a second. I think it's helpful to have background on folks.
Yeah. So if you want the full backgrounds, you got things like I'm from Ohio originally. I was homeschooled growing up. My dad actually worked pretty hard to give me a financial education. Like I was reading the Dave Ramsey books, and I was reading like what compound
At what
interest
age
is.
were you reading Dave Ramsey books from Dad?
Probably like 14, 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't. He was not an entrepreneur. He's an 8 to 5 guy who put in the time and retired and worked for the same company for almost, half of his life for one company, the other half of his life for the other company.
Yep. Okay.
And he didn't like his job. It was obvious. Like, he was happy to be home on the weekends because he was glad to escape the grind in the office. And I don't think he even really was trying to push me towards entrepreneurial efforts, but it was definitely like the American spirit and the freedom that you have, and you can go do anything you want to do, which is very cool. And as much money advice as he could give me, but it was very much like, don't go into debt. It was actually like he was trying to give me good advice, but some of it hampered me kind of for a long time. Like I had no concept of there being good debt.
Okay. All right. So you eventually made the quantum leap from saying, and again, some people love it still.
Right.
Some people hate it still. Banking fits in both those situations. So I'm just reminding us that I don't care which it is for you, but that is interesting to hear people who were given a book by their dad that's very influential and cool. I think I was not given financial books at any age before I was a grown man. So that's neat for me to hear. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He worked hard. Actually, I'll give you a couple other tips that he gave me. Like, he made me go get a bank account when I was like 9, so I could start putting money into it.
Okay.
And he made me take out a loan when I was like 13 for no reason.
What was the loan for?
The loan was for no reason.
But what'd you do with it?
So I had already bought, this is dating myself here. I had already bought a boombox full on.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Now, if y'all aren't watching this, I just got to describe, if there are audio only listeners, Will did just put his arm up in the air, making the physical movement.
This thing was like
he's holding this thing.
It was 3 feet wide by 1 foot tall. It wasn't even like a good one.
It's like listening to music and weightlifting at the same time to carry a boombox on your shoulder.
Correct. It had the disc on top. It had the 2 cassette deck. It had the radio. It had the bass boost button, which I never turned off. I don't even know what it sounded like.
Who would turn it off?
Right. And I had already bought it. I grand total, I think it was like $90. It wasn't like a great stereo setup, but my dad was like, we're going to work on building your credit.
Okay.
So we're going to go to the bank. We're going to take out a loan. You're going to pay it off over 6 months, a grand total of $6 in interest or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And that way you'll have some bank history.
Experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got a Lowe's or an Ace credit card in the mail. And my dad was like, you should accept it. And I was like, I don't even shop at this store. I mean, I do now. It's been a great. I've had it for a long time.
Right. Homeowner, dad, husband.
It was
you shop for that
Sears,
stuff now.
actually, now that I think about it. And it was like a 26% interest rate, first credit card, maybe $1,000 limit on it. And he was like, you should fill it out. You should see if you can get a credit card. And so I did. And I got a credit card that I don't think I ever used. Literally, I don't think I ever used it, but I had it in my wallet. And then when I bought a house, when I graduated from college, I had 0 problems with credit. Like, I don't know if that's all as a result of that, but got approved on the loan instantly. And yeah, thanks, Dad.
That's so very different than mine.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I was the kind of guy to ask for comments, that's a good place for me to ask folks to put in the comment section. Was your experience closer to Will's? I feel like Dad was being an overachiever. I'll just say, I feel like that's above average interaction from one generation to the next, that early on in your life, to doing anything financial. That's from my perspective. You let me know. But okay, so Dad's being proactive.
Yeah, lots of traditional stuff. I also had CDs, by the way.
Okay, and you told me about some bonds the other day.
Grandpa.
Some bonds from that was grandparents though, right?
Yep.
I didn't have that experience. I'm just saying this is really neat for me to hear.
I do feel pretty spoiled. Even though I don't know that most of what he gave me was the optimal advice, it definitely opened my mind to things that I hadn't, that I wouldn't have thought of as a kid. Otherwise, my mom was helping me write checks to pay for things, and I did all the money things, paid taxes, and my dad made me pay my own taxes when I was like 18. He was like, "You'll figure it out," and I was like, "What?" I think my mom helped me on that one a little bit. Thanks, Mom.
Okay.
And it was like, you're going to be responsible for money someday, so get on it.
Very cool. I think that's fantastic. And I certainly want to be more along those lines and do it in a way that I question everything that I'm doing in my life, financially speaking, and also vet that for our children. Right.
I love it. Yeah.
If you can do better, do better.
Trying to do a lot of those things. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're still in that same game together. Neat. Okay. So that's the background. You're exposed to this idea, which would be very different.
Counter. Right.
Than a lot of the things that you just talked about.
I think
the Dave
honestly,
Ramsey
I
plan.
didn't tell my dad about it because I was like, he won't believe it. He'll say it's a scam. Maybe it is a scam. I don't know. I'm going to start off small and see what happens, and if I can figure out how to get it to work, and then I'll let him know about it. He does have a policy now.
Awesome. All right. So then, but lay out then, what were the action steps that you took between saying, well, okay, my buddy's doing this thing that he thinks is awesome, and I'm going to watch and wait. What were the action steps that you took before you paid a premium for your own policy?
Yeah, so I actually got to see Brent do one of his presentations. We went to a country club in town. Jeremiah invited me. He was like, hey, the guy that I've been telling you about is in town. Let's go hear him. I heard that presentation. Brent hands out like a whole binder of sheets of paper and some homework and some papers and information and stuff like that. I went to that presentation. I ended up talking to Jeremiah for like an hour afterwards. We just hung out afterwards, and he was saying, man, if this is true and this is true, we're going to be rich. It's going to be amazing. Let's do it. And I was like, this sounds exciting. I'm glad you're in. Went home, told my wife about it. She verified the same things that my dad would have. Like, first off, you don't actually understand anything you're saying. You're just repeating phrases. And second, where are we going to get this money from? How are we supposed to just put extra money into it?
Right.
And so it really did take about a year of doing some videos for Brent, doing some videos with Jeremiah where he was explaining stuff. I think J.D. gave me the like audio version of Becoming Your Own Banker.
Okay. All right. So you listened to it? Okay.
I tried to listen to it. This is a painful audiobook. I'm sure you have.
Yes, of course I've listened to it more than once. Kidding me.
I paid attention for half of it. And then I was definitely zoned out for the last half. It's rough. What we should do is have Jeremiah reread this in like a normal human voice that doesn't sound like a 80s sitcom promo shot or something.
I got you.
And that's actually a good idea. We should do that.
I hear you.
Did you enjoy your listening to
there are constant projects on the horizon of how we want to share this information with people, and I've listened on CDs in my motor vehicle.
Slide it it gets stuck in my car. I have to like stick a toothpick in there to get it to come back out.
All right, so because of your proximity, you were dripped on essentially by the information absorption. You're saying, okay, what else? All right, so. Half the audiobook.
Yeah, I think the big thing was just seeing both Jeremiah and Jonah excited about it, understanding it, breaking down different things, answering questions. Because I think everybody does have a bunch of questions. Like, how does it actually work? What is what is a paid up edition? What does it really mean? Do I have to pay back a loan? Can I just put money in on top? Like, what are the options that I got? How does it actually grow? What are the numbers? What are the guarantees? And just seeing that over and over and over again, it really kind of came down to it's now tax refund season. And I got a decent tax refund. I'm either going to go squander it, just put it in my bank and collect 0.023% on it, or maybe we should try out this infinite banking thing. And so we started with a small policy on my wife. I had life insurance on myself through work, but I didn't have anything on her. And so we've got kids. I was like, maybe we just need to get a life insurance policy, right? And we can kill two birds with one stone. And so then by the end of year one, when just like J.D.'s policy had been working, mine was working, well, let's go ahead and open up a policy on me. And then now I got one on all my kids. And then I got an extra one. So I'm at like 6 policies now after whatever it is, 7-8 years. And they're all great. Working very well.
I love it. Okay. All right. So that was the exposure, about a year time frame. First policies on the wife. As you got the policies, I would love to know, and I don't know if you ever went back to the CDs. I don't know if you ever went to the hard copy. I don't know. I would like to know what your continued, education or exposure to infinite banking was, and maybe specifically, do you have a favorite or a most impactful either aha moment, light bulb takeaway, or a favorite part of the infinite banking concept? Was there some part of the book, or was there some aha moment that sticks out in your mind in that early part of about to get a policy, getting a policy, using a policy?
This is kind of dangerous. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. These might be legal issues. Get ready to cut it out. Here we go.
Well, you're talking to yourself. You're the tech. You're the tech guy. This is a mental reminder. Will, you might want to mute yourself here in a second.
One of the things that I found incredibly interesting, which I think is actually frowned upon by most insurance companies, but it's just the way that you could use it, and I don't use it this way. But there was a thing early in our journey where we heard about laddering your policies.
Okay. Yep.
And the idea for that is you could open one whole life insurance policy, get it started, take the cash that you have available to you as your cash flow, the loan from the company, and you could literally turn that money around and you could open another policy with that same account, or open a different account using that same cash. So you could basically double the value of your compounding. And I know that that's something that in the industry, like when we first heard about that, it was mind blowing. I would never have considered using the same money twice. I don't know that that's a safe thing. It's not something that's really that's accepted in the industry. However, that concept of like, I could take this money and I could go do something else with it that would get me more money with the same money. That was the aha moment for sure. And so what I've been doing is I have some buddies who are builders who do real estate, who do flips and stuff like that. And so I've got this money earning me interest all the time, the premiums that I'm paying that are earning me also death benefit. I'm borrowing that money out. And while it's still growing, I'm lending that money to other people who are doing cool things with them. And they're paying me interest back on top of that money. So it's interest on interest. And then I'm paying back that loan. And now I've got more money than I started off with times two, maybe not exactly times two, but I'm doubling the purposes of it and trying to find as many places that I can do that in is like my new challenge.
I got you. And I know what you're talking about. And I remember when I was first exposed to the idea of laddering as well, but bigger picture, the idea of, and I speak to folks in these terms nowadays, if you could take dollars and accomplish multiple jobs with the same dollars, would you? Everybody, of course, is going to say yes, but I'm just trying to get them to think, right? And let them just have the opportunity to have these aha moments that we've had to where they say, well, of course I want to do that. And I say, well, what if instead of diverting money from your cash flow to go do something in real estate with a fix and flip or whatever it is that you want to do, which is great if that's what you want to do. Awesome. Or anything else, pay off debt, just insert the thing that you want to do, right? But if you could take those same dollars, fund an asset, an appreciating asset, a self-collateralizing asset, the policy itself, that you're going to own for your whole life. You're going to keep that. If you could do that and then leverage that asset to go do X, Y, or Z, whatever that, you've literally accomplished multiple jobs, multiple tasks with the same dollars. So I can remember that being an aha moment for me. I know what you mean when you're talking about laddering policies. I think the opportunity to do multiple things with dollars is a big thing for folks when it crosses their mind for the first time. Yeah. Whether it's, okay, I have this asset, I have this pool of capital that I can get to, and I could build this system bigger from this system itself.
Right.
I could do that, right? And as a practice, I know what you're saying too, that it's not something that I actively teach, but I also tell people, hey, you be your own banker.
Yeah.
Some people love real estate. Other people already have a business. Other folks like investments. Other folks like, do whatever it is that you want to do. Dad did a good job of exposing you to so many different things, right? Everything's not for everybody, I don't believe. But at the end of the day, it's all financed. It is all banked. Mm-hmm. And I think that you should be able to do that for yourself. All right, real neat. And I did want to get to real estate just because I know that you've done some things recently there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, let me not make sure that I'm skipping by. So in the first couple of years, sounds like you had a couple of policies, but now you've grown to the whole family. Mm-hmm. Whole family's got coverage. So 6 policies, you said, right?
Yeah. 5 family members, but 1 additional policy that's on me. So I took a second one. The first one I took on me was pretty small. Again, I was kind of testing the waters early and just seeing seeing how it worked and confirming everything. But I went back and actually took out a second policy on myself so that if I do kick the bucket, my wife's got, a higher death benefit, and I've increased the opportunity for me to use that cash flow.
And that's good. That's a good thing to reiterate, because sometimes when people hear that, because they start out thinking, should I get one of these? They're just considering this idea, which in my mind and in their mind when they're getting started, it's like, should I get one? Am I getting one? Oh yeah, I'm going to get one once you learn about it. And that's what you want to do. And then there is that revelation of, oh, I could build a system here because banks open up multiple branches. So why wouldn't I do the same thing? Privatized myself. But then sometimes people do end up asking me, well, who are you getting these policies on? Can you get more than one? So that's a question that I get. So there's your example right there. You can have multiple policies on the same person, whether you're the owner, whether you're the insured, it doesn't matter. I could have 2 policies on my children. That's them being insured. I'm just the owner of the policy because they're minors. We can have multiple policies on ourselves too. Awesome. Great. Yep. Just strategic thinking. When you're looking ahead on
and a lot of that was like a little bit of it was income growth. A lot of it was I just had started off small. Like if you're going to treat it as a bank, then you hopefully over your lifetime are going to have more money to put into that bank than you have 7 years prior. And so by the time we got around to everybody else in the family had one, basically I was trying to start one a year was kind of what it boiled down to. And when I got one on the whole family, then it was like, well, I do still have funds that I want to put in the bank and not just have sitting around. Maybe I can put a second policy on myself. And then, it was actually easier. I don't even think I had to do a health exam the second time because they were like, nothing's changed. You're good to go. So, yeah.
I appreciate that distinction. Both those parts of as you scale a system of policies over time, one reason could be, and very common, that people start with a conservative number for their first policy. That's how I coach people too. I ask them, think of a conservative number, think of an ambitious and an imaginative number, probably somewhere between those two numbers, whatever those numbers are for you, because everybody's different, is a good starting point. And maybe even go a touch more on the conservative side with a first policy. But then you end up seeing that, well, my thinking was actually smaller than I wished it was.
It's the most, what's the word, appreciable or palatable approach. Because until you get into it and understand how good it is, start off easy. Start off with what you can afford. That's no problem. The crazy or the sad thing is that you're going to look back and you're going to be like, man, I wish I had had that first policy be a whole lot bigger than it is.
Right.
Because that's the one that I'm getting the best interest on. That's the one that's been there the longest. That's the biggest one. I wish I had started bigger. And that really, one of the reasons I jumped into that, another aha moment was I was only thinking of it as banking and as death benefit.
Okay.
We did a series of videos where we were talking about retirement and using it for your retirement as well. And the fact that by the time I get, 20 years out and I'm ready to retire, I can use the loans as well as I can borrow against that premium if I ever need to in the future to retire from. And so it was like, oh, maybe it's time that I stop contributing to the 401k and I start putting contributions into this and make this my retirement account. It seems, it is safer. It's more guaranteed. It doesn't have the fluctuations that you're going to have with the market and everything else. And so it was like, maybe this needs to be not just my current banking and my death benefit, but also my retirement plan. I need to open another policy to make these numbers work. So
one question, then one further point then. Are you a licensed agent?
I am not.
Will's not a licensed agent. Well, you're doing a good job of selling it right there. A lot of people would say. No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead and get yours now. I won't get any commission. No, actually, my wife is actually the licensed agent. So in your marriage as one, it works. She's the number lady and the test taker. And so she's actually the one that has the license in our family.
I love it. What was the point I wanted to say? You made me think. You were sharing about your aha moment. In the beginning, you saw, well, here's how we can do banking this year with the policy. And of course, it's eventually going to have that death benefit. But then you started looking at the time of life between those 2 points of whatever we're going to finance over the next 12 months and whatever end of life looks like. Yeah.
There's a helping
facilitate passive income later in life. Yeah. Okay. So good. Yeah. That's a good aha moment to share with folks, because some folks that I talk to, for example, they're already in it. They're already retired, perhaps, and they're still looking to do better things with their money, right?
Yeah.
And then some people are realizing, hey, I should do something else. And some people make the same call that you did, I did, where they don't want to do all the traditional investing. They do want to do things with money, but they don't necessarily want to invest with all the conventional vehicles, and they do decide to redirect money that had been going to the 401ks or whatever have you to their private banking system instead. And some people do keep the qualified plans, and they keep contributing to the match.
I'm not opposed to those. I mean, I think this is a much safer, a better bet, and a better investment, if you will.
No, we can't see, and that's why he's.
That's why I'm not an agent.
That's why he's behind. It's not an investment because there's no risk, Will.
Right,
which you already know. Which you already know.
That, yeah, but I'm saying if people are looking at it as this is the return I'm going to get on my money,
and lots of people do look at returns, sure,
right? Then it's better than all those other ones. However, I'm still not opposed to like diversifying. So
yeah.
I'm going to have some stocks. I'm going to have some gold. I still have a 401k. I didn't cash it out.
Where's that gold? Don't answer that. I'm just teasing.
Not in my house.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay. So another aha moment then was passive income or retirement years in life. But catch us up to speed then. You are doing some active investing, and it would be investing to give money to a contractor who's out building things. We don't know what that's like. That's separate. But the warehouse that you're coming from is the policy itself. So you pulled together some money recently, put that towards a deal. I mean, just share whatever aspects about that. And I just mean like in your headspace even. Have you done deals before? Was this a first, or you can even describe what it was like for the first time to use money from a policy towards an investment? How was your headspace in that?
Yeah, 2 or 3 different things pop into my mind. One is the very first investment that I did was with a trusted buddy. He's a builder. I think I mentioned this just a little bit. He was doing some flips and he said, "Hey, I need some cash. Do you have any? Do you know anybody that has any? I'll pay you interest on it." And I think if it had come from an investment deal or something I had seen on the internet, I would have been much more dubious. But I was like, I trust this guy. He's a hardworking dude. I know his business. I know the property that he's buying. And so, yeah, if you're going to sign a little piece of paper that says you'll give me interest on payments for the next year, sure, I've got money that's available that you can borrow. So that kind of got me started. And that was it wasn't an aha moment, but it was like this is great stuff.
Yay.
This money was going to sit here and do nothing. And now you're paying me interest every month. I'm getting a check from you. Great. So that kind of whet my appetite for it. And then just slowly I've taken slightly riskier things, in giving money to people that I don't personally know or in other states or in other locations. And so thankfully, praise the Lord, all those have gone well so far. I've been paid back in full with interest on all those deals. I've heard that if you live in that sector for very long, somebody's not going to pay you back. So I'm trying to be very careful about who I lend to, but the private lending has been really profitable. It's been growing my wealth, and it's been encouraging. Like it's encouraging to see your money working for you, which is pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Well, you make me think, and I don't know if you've ever returned back to the second half of those CDs that you could listen to from the audiobook. So I'll just go ahead and tell you, just in case you didn't know, Will Meadows, that R. Nelson Nash says that when you have capital, opportunities find you. I know you've heard that before. I'm teasing you, but really it's a reality that when you have capital, opportunities will find you.
It will. Yep.
And when you'd proactively been building into your policies, hey, you did have this guy, and he was the one that's reaching out saying, hey, I'm busy in my business. I'm good at this. I need other folks who are interested in doing the money part of this deal. Let's connect and make this go faster and better for everybody. I love that. So, because that's what he says in the book. You've lived that out for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I see what you're saying right there, just happening in your real life, which is cool. And you'd done a post on social media, and I saw that. And I was it's still inspiring to me to see things like that. And we've done some things in real estate too. But I love seeing people doing whatever it is that interests them, and then they're controlling the financing of it.
Well, and I found that my interests have grown as a result of this kind of thing, because you get that little hit, honestly, of, oh, I'm making money on my money. And then all of a sudden it's like, why have I not been doing this for a long time? and what other areas can I be doing this in? The next deal that I kind of jumped into from that was I actually bought my neighbor's house 3 years ago now. Had been friends for a long time. Older lady, her kids had her move out with them, and her house was available. And so I offered what was actually a good deal, but a reasonable deal offer on the house. And we were able to work it out without realtors and any of that stuff, just between the two families. And I was able to pull the balance out of my policy, take that loan to use it for the down payment on the house. And then on top of that, my mortgage lender, because I still needed a loan for the rest of the amount, came back and said, hey, if you have any other assets that you can put onto this loan, we can get you a better interest rate. And I said, what about this life insurance policy that I got, that I just borrowed all the cash from? But the death benefit was still there. And so they were able to actually kind of double dip and use it to lower my interest rate by showing that I had assets to back up my loan or whatever. So that was a great feeling, again, to be able to use this money twice. And now I've got a source of income because now we have renters living there and they're paying me rent every month. So
oh, fantastic.
it's pretty great, actually.
Awesome. I love it. All right, so catch us up to speed then. Here we are today. You know, you and I know each other. We get to work together because I'm here in the office and I take calls here and we record content, and you're such a big help to me, and I appreciate you for that. But I also knew that I wanted I wanted you to be able to contribute this kind of content and information for folks on this side of the camera, because I think there's a lot of value in that as well for folks just to see, you know, this guy himself is not an agent. He's around a bunch of agents, married to an agent, whatever. And to hear your trajectory, I think that's always super helpful. I got two things. What does the horizon look like for you? Anything on your radar looking ahead?
Yeah, so I think I'm always interested in getting that next policy.
Of course.
As soon as the funds kind of free up in other areas, as soon as some of these loans are actually paid back, I'll have additional cash on hand. So I do kind of have like a goal in mind for what kind of premium I want to pay, and that way I can most definitely retire off of it someday. So I'm looking at those numbers actively, trying to get to a point where I know, hey, if I just do this for the next 10 years, I will be set. So that's the straight upfront banking plan. But then, yeah, I am looking for new opportunities. So I have, I think, 3 loans out right now to people that are paying interest on them. And as soon as one ends, like, I'm ready to put it back out in another one and keep those funds growing. So that's the financial plan for the banking bros and the cash compound. I mean, I super enjoy working with these people. I think this is a revolutionary concept that everybody should know about, and I love the mission that the banking bros have of just breaking it down, making it simple so that everybody can understand, whether you're a right brain artist or a left brain numbers guy. And so I'm excited to be a part of that and just spreading the news and helping people understand that they can be their own bank, that they can have control, that they don't have to be dependent on everybody else to tell them how to do their money and where to spend it and how to save it and all those things. So happy to help you keep growing, keep telling people.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Well, I mean, you kind of just kept going into the last thing that I would have asked, which would have been, you know, what suggestion would you leave anybody with that's heard your story? What should they consider doing next?
Yeah, so I think we have a great...
Listen to half of the audio?
Maybe. Actually, I wouldn't recommend that, but you can. If you're into that kind of thing, great. If you haven't seen the Save and Spend presentation that the Banking Bros have online, which we can probably put a link in the description for, that video, which I helped make, succinctly describes exactly how the process works, what you can expect from it. It helps you understand how banks work, which was a mind blower for me as well. Like the fact that they're making so much money on my money that I'm just leaving there. There's a lot of eye-opening moments in that video. There's a lot of things that you thought you knew that you probably don't actually know correctly. Mm-hmm. And if you go watch that video, I think it's like 50 minutes. You're going to have to dedicate some time. But if you watch that, it will answer your questions in a way that I've not heard anybody else answer them. And then it's like, what are you waiting for? Just start using your money, because right now it's sitting there doing nothing, and it could be doing a lot.
I love it. Yep. That's exactly how I felt when I saw my first presentation was, I did not know this. And then some things that I did think I had an idea about, went down a rabbit hole to a completely different level of understanding, for sure. Yep. And obviously that led us to where we're at right now. So, man, again, thanks so much for carving out the time to be on this side of the camera with me. I hope that you enjoyed listening to Will's journey in infinite banking. If you'd like to have a conversation about what it could look like for you to have your questions answered or to implement infinite banking into your household, your business, your investing, then don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's at DurhamTalents.com. I hope you have a great day. Take care. I hope that you enjoyed listening to mine and Will's conversation. It was a real, no, still not. Give me another 10 something seconds. I've the cash comp, that one, and thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome. Great time.